Hey squad, what's going on? Rich here, bringing you an update on some racing and some racing recap. So today we're going to be talking about HYROX Chicago, the US Championships. It was just this past weekend. So what we're going to go through all of my splits, and we're going to look at how they compare to my previous HYROX race, and then I'm going to take the top 7 competitors and compare all those splits together to really see where the race happens by the numbers. So, I mean, we can get a good chance to really look at it, the race when we're watching it and seeing where the time is being made. But there's definitely some interesting information that you can take away from the numbers themselves and the actual data. So before we get into it, hit us with a like, hit us with a subscribe so you can get all the newest updates on training and athlete interviews. All right, let's get into it. So where we're going to start is looking at the splits from the previous race in Orlando. They're not going to be apples to apples because the race itself was didn't have the transition zones that Chicago had, which is like the rocks zone. So the splits are going to be a little funny, but we can do a good job of like deducing them from each other. So the first part. The first run, this was also a 2.5 lap course. So when you start those, you kind of start halfway through. So this first lap is a little bit shorter, and it's made up through the transition zones where Orlando didn't have that rocks zone. So we didn't have to make up that time later. So the first run, throw it out the window, doesn't really matter because 3:06 is closer to 5-minute pace, and the effort was definitely closer to 5:45 pace or something like that. So going into that first run, I just set myself into good position. I think I came into the ski erg in 4th place. Victor took it out really hard, and then it was Hunter, Magida, and myself coming into the ski erg. And at the ski erg, I was a little bit faster than the previous time. So the thing with the Orlando times is that you're going to have to take off probably 10 to 35 to 40 seconds depending on where it was. In Orlando, the ski erg, the transition zone was really short. So ski erg in Chicago wasn't as bad. So after the ski erg, like, it seemed like I was holding about 150, even a little bit faster, 148s for a lot of it, which is a little bit faster than I even thought I would want to be. But people were getting off of that thing. I mean, Hunter was off of it 15 seconds faster than I think the second place person, which is pretty crazy. So he hammered that thing, but I got off of it, and I think I came off of it in 5th or 6th, but there was a huge group of people who all left together. So it was Hunter, and then basically the rest of the pack. So I was cool with where that was. I think my effort was about the same. The second run was right on point. 340 is exactly where I was hoping it would be, and that's exactly what it was. So that is really a good spot for me to be on that. I moved myself again back into 4th. So it was Hunter, myself, then Hunter, Dylan Scott, Magida, and myself all were in that spot coming into the sled push. So this is where the race went poorly for me. In my previous race, I did the sled push in 4:18, and that was with probably a 20 to 25 second transition between at least, I would say probably 30-second transition because it was a long run to get to the push, and I was really exhausted coming out of the push. So 4:18 in Orlando was where my time was. So at Chicago, it was 5:11, which was pretty slow. It's not really where I was hoping to be, and that was a problem. So I got dusted by the top 3 guys, and then I also came out of that behind Cole, I believe, and also behind Brent, passed me there, and I think that's where I left out of there. So I think I came out of there in 6th, came in there 4th, came out of there 6th. My footwear was not great, and I mean, I have the classic excuses of the footwear and the carpet. All those other guys had the same carpet, had the same issues with that, so it wasn't that I just managed it worse. I didn't have a pair of shoes that were fresh and like had good grip. I had my old pair of shoes. I bought a pair of Endorphin Pros thinking they were going to do well on the carpet. In the warm-up zone, they just didn't, so I had to put on my old shoes that were pretty beat up, and I just wasn't getting that traction. And I'm just not strong enough to need to change my form. I need my form to be very specific. I need to get almost halfway down. I need to have my hips almost at 90 degrees. And that creates a a stronger leverage point, but it makes it crucial that you're getting good traction from the ground. And when that starts slipping, I had to kind of move up so that my feet could get the traction that I needed, so I can keep them more underneath my hips instead of having it be kind of kicked out behind with that aggressive hip angle. And then it was just really hard to push. So it was really exhausting to push it, and it was really slow. So that was a bummer. But coming out of the run, I was faster than in Orlando, which is encouraging. Still, that was my slowest run of the day, but still, I'm pretty happy with that. And then coming into the sled pull, which in Orlando, my time was 5:26 with the transition, so probably closer to 4:50 or 5. And my sled pull was 7:38 in Chicago. And same kind of deal. My shoes were slipping. My hands were slipping. I wore gloves in Orlando. I didn't wear gloves in Chicago because I was worried about overheating and getting super sweaty, but that was a mistake. I had to leave the rope a couple times to get chalk to make sure I can get it, but it was slipping out of my hands, so I was never able to really get that full leverage to pull back. And when doing the pull, you need to pull. For me, I need to pull back, and that initial pull needs to continue with that first step back to keep the momentum going. And I was never able to really kind of get that good momentum from that first pull because it was slipping out of my hand. So everything was forward, and then when I was walking back, it was forward. It was never able to kind of get that full lean back like I needed. So that was definitely a bummer, and it took forever. I was in last by the time I got out of here. I think I was in 8th. So I came in in 5th and left in 8th, and lost a lot of time, which we'll look at the splits and how much I lost compared to everybody else. And then the run was faster, which was good. Burpee broad jumps was great. Then the run after that was right about the same. So that could use some work after burpee broad jumps, but it cut off a bunch of time from there. The row was about the same. I would say maybe a little bit faster because definitely faster because, I mean, this was a faster transition zone in Orlando. This was probably 15 seconds or so. So faster on that. And then the runs really didn't change too much. It felt much faster, but my farmer's walk was better. I had those towels in my pocket. My hands were dry because I wasn't wearing the gloves. I chalked up, and I only had to put it down twice over the 200 meters, which I was pretty pumped about, where in Orlando I put it down probably 5 or 6 times. The run after that was fine. The lunges still need work. They definitely need work. I just need to be stronger. My run after the lunges were good, and my wall balls I had blasted in Chicago, which was a plus. So you see my running was faster, so almost 45 seconds faster, which is great. My stations, you have to combine with the rock zones here. So this was really 30, what are we looking at? So this is really, almost 38 minutes, 39 minutes of transition time, of station time, where I was 35 in Orlando. So, and it's all from the push and pull. So that's pretty unfortunate there, because the rock zone was about 4 minutes and 25 seconds, where the total time was 108, where my total time was 107.28. So all of that time that I had in the back end was given up on the front end from the push and pull, which is a bummer. So we're going to take a look at the athletes and how the splits kind of are compared. So what I did here is I made a table that had all of the athletes, and I broke down the sections of the race themselves into 5 different categories. So running's obviously one. The transitions in and out of the stations was another. Strength endurance is what I'm classifying as the sled push, sled pull, and the lunges. These are the ones where the bigger, stronger athletes seem to do much better. So I put those in one category. Machines, which is the row and the ski erg, and then cardio stations, which is burpee broad jump, farmer's walk, and wall balls. These are things that aren't necessarily going to be, the strength isn't necessarily going to be the limiter on that. It's going to be general fatigue, because in all of those it's lightweight or body weight, and not going to be a matter of if you can do the movement. It's just a matter of how fast you can kind of continue to move through those. So in the running itself, there was Dylan Scott did a great job with the running. He had 13 seconds faster than I was, and Megiddo again was 35 seconds faster if you're looking down on this end here for David. So that's where I did. I broke it all up. So it's me, Dylan Scott, Hunter McIntyre, Brent Hastrid, Cole Schwartz, and Preston Burnett were the 7 that I put on for this, because these are the athletes that I was mostly around and who I wanted to see how I compared. So in terms of the running, I was pretty cool with that, and here's the difference with all the things. So Hunter, I was 3 seconds faster than Hunter. I was almost 2 minutes faster than Brent. I was 3.5 minutes faster than Cole, and 4.5 minutes faster than Preston, and I just barely beat those guys. Cole and Preston, we were 69, 17, and 110, so we were at the wall balls together. And my running being that much faster, that shows how much worse my stations were than them. So the transition zones, this is one thing that Dylan Scott did really, really well, is his rock zone was 232, which was faster than pretty much everyone's by quite a bit. And that tells me that he comes off of the obstacles and out of the stations really well, and he can run pretty well as soon as he's done, where it takes me a little bit of time and a little bit of speed to kind of get up and going. And it looks like that's the same for pretty much everyone else. Hunter was the second best at that, but everyone else is kind of in my realm in that 425 to 5 minute ish. So Dylan Scott did a great job with that. So that tells me like working on the run as soon as you're done with the station and being really familiar with how bad that sucks right away, and pushing it so that you can get into that flow of the running much quicker. So he probably came out into the run a little bit quicker than I was because his transitions were so much better, which makes the difference on the actual run itself too. So Dylan did a great job with that. For the strength endurance, again, this is sled push, sled pull, and walking lunges. So for me, I lost 3 minutes and 40 seconds from Dylan, and he beat me by 4 minutes and almost 5 minutes, really. Wow. No, he beat me by 4 minutes on the nose, and this was 3 minutes and 45 seconds of it. So that was definitely a spot where I lost all of my time, and Dylan got second. So this, if I could have just maintained this a little bit, I would have been right in the mix for the podium. And it's frustrating because I did have a good sled push and pull in my previous race, but I just didn't have the goods this time. I just wasn't prepared properly for it. So it's a bummer. But Dylan did a great job. I mean, his body composition is not dissimilar to mine. He might be a little bit taller than I am, maybe even a little bit leaner than I am, but so it's really not an excuse for body composition. It's more for strength and power output, which Dylan had. You can see Hunter had, his total time was 11:21, and the next fastest was Brent, which was 12:47. So he puts a minute and 20 seconds on the next fastest person in these sleds and in the lunges. And his lunges are unreal. It's like 3:30. Mine were like 5:30. So Hunter this is obviously where the race is made and broken for a lot of people, and you know that just by the nature of the race itself. But it just is evident in the data here that, you know, Hunter puts 3 minutes on the person who ended up in second place. You know, and Hunter ran a time of 61, and Dylan ran a time of 64 high. So, and almost 3 minutes exactly were here. So, it just goes to show that they do matter quite a bit. And I was the slowest on these by about 4 minutes. So Dylan's and again, this just shows we were probably the two leanest guys in this table, and our times were the two slowest. And Dylan did a good job of making up for that lack of strength endurance by really smashing the transitions, which gave him an advantage over guys like Brent and Cole and Preston, because his running and transitions were so much better. So he was able to negate a little bit of the loss that he would have on the strength zones by really pushing in and out of them, which is what you're going to have to do if you're going to be on the endurance side of things. So kudos to him, did a great job with that. On the machines, again, not a ton of time made up and lost on my end. Dylan put about 27 seconds. Hunter did 40. Again, his ski erg was crazy. His row was really strong. And then Brent was about the same. And then everybody else was kind of the same. I was right around where Magida was. I was right around where Brent was. And again, this is just ski erg and rower. You can see some of the stronger athletes like Cole and Preston. They lost a little bit of ground here because these are a little bit more cardio focused. And so bigger athletes and with bigger engines will have an advantage here. Hunter, again, is the cream of the crop when it comes to the machine station, so he had the fastest machine stations as well. And the cardio stations, which are the wall balls and the farmer's walks and the burpee broad jumps. So mine I actually did gain a little bit of ground on just about everybody except Hunter on these because his burpee broad jumps are so strong. And everyone else, I was able to really make up some time. My Hunter's farmers walks were really fast. My farmers walks were much better this time. And my wall balls were like one of the fastest times that were ever recorded at HYROX. And in full disclosure, I got there and I was hammering a set. I was sort of counting, not really. I looked back at my judge after my first break, and she said a number that was higher than where I thought I was. But I didn't know where my count was. I I just confirmed. I was like, you said it's like, you said like 70 something. I thought it was 60 something in that first set. So I think that my wall balls were miscounted, miscounted in my favor. I did bring this to the attention of the race organizers after the race, saying like, I don't know if this is right. I had a good set, but I don't know if I did it in like the 3:08, which it said on the time. Maybe the split was wrong. Maybe her count was wrong. Maybe her count was right. Maybe my count was wrong. But either way, I don't know if that was the exact time. But I didn't know what else to do. She counted to 100. She said I was done. So I finished. So that was with that. I don't know, what am I supposed to do? Do 20 more? Do 10 more? Do 5 more? Because that's what I kind of thought where I should be. I don't know. It's just a tough spot. And like I said, I brought it to the organizers, and there's no way for them to really check outside of the judges' call. So that was just how it was done. For better for me, for maybe worse for the other competitors, but maybe I just really did smash it. So I mean, with that, with the cardio stations, probably at 30 seconds to my time, which is still pretty solid, where I would be closer to 8 minutes, which is closer to what Brent was, which is really strong because he had a great set of wall balls as well. So looking at these numbers, the place that's obvious is the strength endurance. I need to get stronger. I need to make sure that I don't have to have everything go perfect. If my footwear is a little off, I can still get through with that. If I'm not wearing gloves, I can still pull the sled. And that was really the main problems with it. And I can't rely on everything having to be right on point for the race to go as well as I possibly wanted to. The running could get better. The running was much better. So if we look at the previous race, this is race over race. It was, again, if we're looking back at the running, it was about 45 seconds faster, which is great. I'm happy about the running being faster. So the running could be faster still. The transitions could certainly be faster, and the strength endurance piece is going to need to get better. So I can improve in a lot of areas here. So general fitness is going to be part of it. Body composition, general strength is going to be part of it, which is something that I'm going to work on leading into the next race, which I'm not sure which is going to be, but I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on what the training is going to look like, what I'm going to do to really address these specific areas that need to be improved. And so next time that we can bring that time down even further. Cool. Well, I hope this was helpful. It really gave me some clarity on where everything is and where I am in terms of the competition. So appreciate you guys taking a watch on this. So hit me with a like, hit me subscribe. If you like this information, drop a comment below if you have any specific questions about the splits or how I kind of came up with all this stuff and what I'm going to go from there. Cool. We'll talk to you soon.